Okay, I guess we should probably go ahead and get going. We good? Okay. We're being recorded for posterity, I think, or streamed, something, or for insurance purposes. So, we're from Utah State University, and we have maintained a large distance learning network for a long time. We have 30 statewide locations, more than 30 locations, remote campuses, remote classrooms. We had a large Cisco interactive video conferencing system, which we maintained. We had more than 60 programs available statewide, 600 courses. Recently, we've started to transition to Zoom, of course, because got to get rid of the Cisco. We have, since 2022, we've been doing this, did some programming using Zoom's API to auto-launch courses, auto-connect remote sites, basically get some of the features that we had with our Cisco system and make them available with Zoom. So that was a big one for us, is the creating and launching of conferences. The nice features of Cisco. Instructor walks into a classroom, the call launches, all the sites connect, and they all work, hopefully. I'm Jim Wellings.
I'm Steve Campbell.
And between us, we do a lot of the work on the back end of making the classroom integrations work with Zoom. Much of what we're going to talk about is how we make actual classroom controls work within Zoom. And if you were in Dr. Ford's talk this a little earlier before lunch, I mean, there are some awesome features. And if you like having your own Crestron systems on campus with common user interfaces, you know, there's value in that. The stuff that's not controlled by Zoom, that's not part of the Zoom ecosystem. Like if I have room lights, room PA systems, all that stuff, I want my touch panel controls that my users are familiar with. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about. So most here are technology people. How many of your groups are part of campus IT? Most of you. I'm putting my hand down because we are not, which is interesting. And we actually used to be part of campus IT, but we are no longer. We were made part of the student success and provost office. But I do have to, for PSA, I have to mention that AV is IT, and you'll hear that as you travel around to various shows and Infocom, and it is. There's not a single thing we do anymore with AV that is not on the network. If we get a device that's not on the network, or we have one, we throw it out, and we get one that is. So we're not part of IT, but we have to play nice with them. We have to play by their rules, because we do everything we do on campus on a converged network. So we are part of the campus network. We follow all their rules. We're even housed, our operation is housed in their building. And here's our IT services building. We have a place down on the first floor. They know where we are. They can come and find us if we do something bad. They'll come down to our area and say, hey, what did you just do? And as part of that, as we build out spaces and we design systems, we purchase our network switches, and we have our own dedicated switches in every space. We purchase them from IT. So they have the hardware, it's to their spec, they configure it, they set up the VLANs on it, and we have a separate VLAN for every building for AV equipment. And so they hand it to us ready to go. We told them how many ports we need, how much PoE power we need, and that's a big one. If you're doing system designs, we have so much stuff that's PoE powered. So really to successfully implement any AV system to us, and that's why I say, again, AV is IT, we have to have a really good working relationship. And, oh yeah, sorry. Look at me, a tech guy, and I'm not using a microphone. ring decorated microphone. It has a blue flower around it. I think it's an anti-roll device, so if we get excited, it'll keep us from falling over. Okay, sorry about that. Forget the mic. Okay. So yeah, good relationship with your IT staff, and that's essential. And one of the things, in fact, that we did when we first, so we do AV over IP. It's now our campus standard. When we first tried to deploy that hardware on campus, we knew it was going to be a huge impact on the network. We actually bought some endpoints and put together some hardware. We walked over to the network team's office. Here you go. We want to use this on your network, see if it'll work or if we're going to break stuff. And they were very helpful. They set it up. They played with it. And actually, it didn't take them very long to decide it was going to be okay. So, real quick, just sort of a map of our network. Our legacy system, this is a map dating from that, but as I mentioned, about 200 classrooms across the state, 27 centers. 3 of the campuses are what we call regional campuses. 3 are residential campuses, where actually students stay there. Residential campuses. We are in Logan, that's our main campus. Price and Blanding are the other 2. So we have currently about 260 Zoom room licenses deployed. And the plan is to do a lot more of them. And we'll kind of get into that later. And the peak of usage, if this is correct, I think we may have a little more, and we can look at some network stats in a minute, but 2.4 million meeting minutes weekly so far. All of our classrooms on campus, on our main campus, are Zoom capable. They all have an instructor PC with Zoom installed. They have cameras and microphones, instructor microphones. This is something that we started during COVID, and this as a big build out. Now, of course, we're going to talk about it going to Zoom rooms. We were a big user of legacy video conferencing. So a room with Zoom, which I just mentioned, we have all of our rooms are rooms with Zoom. What is the difference between that and a Zoom room? So we have about 189 classrooms now on our main campus that have Zoom installed, so they are rooms with Zoom. They have, as I mentioned, an instructor mic, a pen-tilt Zoom camera. The cameras that we have in most locations are not controllable by Zoom. They are controllable on the touch panel. And that's because we bought them before we had a wide dispersion of Zoom. It was also during COVID when it was tough to get stuff. We could get HD SDI cameras, and we have hundreds of Lumens cameras all over campus because they were available, and we could order them and get them. And they're actually pretty good. I mean, they're not super great video quality, but they're acceptable, and HD SDI is very easy to work with when you're building a room and you want to transport video for long distances. So what is a Zoom room? So here we're looking at an example of one of our legacy Cisco rooms. Has multiple monitors, and I don't have a shot of the other direction, but this was sort of an experimental setup. There are 3 monitors in the front of the room mirroring those 3. So the Cisco system supported multiple monitors. I would see my presentation on one of them. I could see a local camera view if I wanted. I could see remote video sites on one or both of the other monitors. So this kind of experience, not necessarily to this extent, but at least a front display and a rear monitor, we wanted to kind of support and duplicate with new Zoom installations. So a few people here are old enough to know, be aware of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Okay, Ferengi rules of acquisition. Can't say it. Acquisition. I have Jim's rules, AV rules of acquisition. So one directly related to Zoom, right? You build a Zoom Rooms classroom and the instructor's going to teach from their office because they don't want to walk across campus. This is absolutely true. We could make them go to the classroom with a Cisco room, but not with Zoom. So anyway. So one of the other features of the Cisco system that was very valuable to us was the remote management of the endpoints and remote scheduling. Scheduling being the biggest one because we could set up the entire semester in the Cisco TMS system and have all the calls launch when they were supposed to, all the proper sites connect. We would actually have them connect a few minutes early for a test period, and a facilitator in the room would do a test with all the sites, make sure they had two-way audio and video during a little 10-minute period before the class started. Then the instructor could walk up and begin teaching. So all that automation is something that was needed for us to consider doing something like going to Zoom Rooms. Let's see, this is where you want to, and I'll turn things over to Steve.
Yeah, so to do the scheduling, we actually we have an in-house programmer that is very talented and did Zoom API calls to create a meeting for each professor, each of their classes. It goes and sets the meeting up automatically, sets the schedule as well, goes through and finds all the sites that need to join, adds those as invitees to the meeting, has them into the meeting, and then when the meeting happens, it does a auto dial out 10 minutes before the classes and connects the classes up, and then when the class is over, it auto disconnects. So it checks the room to see if it's in a class. If it's in a call, it can end that call and start the new meeting. So it can go through and systematically go through and prep that room for the instructor. So when they walk in, they don't have to do anything in the room to get that meeting going.
Yeah, question.
Yeah.
Are you saying you got a program that's running that through TMS?
It's not through TMS. So it's a Python script that he's using, I do believe, that he's running on that, and it's all in-house stuff that we're doing that goes out and makes those calls and runs it. So that's the only way we're really able to do this. Make it really smooth for the amount of meetings and classes that we have going through this. This is very, very beneficial for us.
For all the reasons that you can assume when you work with instructors, we all know why we can't expect instructors to launch all their own conferences.
Yeah, I will say that, yeah. It also has error checking. So when the instructor goes into their meeting settings, that is in their account, and they can go in and mess with it. And if they do that, our system goes through, checks it, fixes it, puts it back to the way it needs to be. So they can't screw anything up. So this is our Zoom Cloud Management. We have all of our campuses. We do break them down to campus, then building, and then room. And that's our naming convention for that. And then we have all the devices in there. And this allows us to do, it's easy for us to scale. So we can easily add rooms. We can move rooms quickly if we had to. It's easy for us to make changes. We do tiered admin on this. So we have 5 other tech managers across the region that manage their sites specifically. So I don't have to do everything. They can do their sites and manage. And they're just in their area. They can do that without messing up anything else across the state. Let's see here. Here we can see through the dashboard we can see the network health of all of our equipment. We can update firmware on it. We can do the Zoom OS. We can update the OS on that as well. So we can go through and check and make sure everything is prepped and ready for those classes to go. Do we want to show kind of like because we're on Edge Room here, we can actually log in and show you kind of a layout of it. This is our meeting dashboards, and this kind of shows our this semester. This is what we have done with Zoom. 108,716 meetings at what? 1,019 minutes that we've done, and it does pretty good. This is kind of layout we're able to go through. One feature of this is remote. So we're able to remote in, and we can actually, from here, we can launch the controller for the room. And for our remote support, because we have so many people running through here, the remote control and help our facilitators who are in the room go through and support the room for the instructors.
This is all Zoom's cloud management system.
Yep. Let's go back to, sorry. Okay, so we kind of step through this and we step through the controller. So when we launch the controller, what we really want to know is, like, how do we get that third-party control in, and how do we control the peripherals in the room that the instructor needs to be able to turn on the projector, run up the level on the sound reinforcement, and how do we do that? And I'll give that back to Jim and let you go through that.
So those of you who do AV systems are going to say, but turning on the projector, you can automate that, right? I can automate the display. Well, you can, but if you do that, you run a greater potential, we found, for people to screw it up. And if they have a button there to turn it on, they know what they're supposed to do. If they walk in and for some reason it doesn't turn on and they don't have a button, they don't know what to do. So like here in this room, I've got right top left, I've got projector controls, and there's always a video mute button because somebody's going to do something and they don't want you to see what they're doing. They're logging in or whatever. So that's the kind of controls that we want to put there, in addition to, like you mentioned, the sound reinforcement, motorized window shades if rooms have that, just the odd things, lighting control, which some of our rooms have. So how do we get those controls into the Zoom interface? So there are a few ways to do it. There's one good way to do it now. There were several ways to do it, and not all of them were so good. So on the side of the interface, a kind of little blow-up shot of it here, you can see the room controls icon. And if you're in Dr. Ford's presentation, he showed you that earlier. So that is the access for your custom controls that with my Crestron or QSC or Extron program, I can make those appear and populate them. There's a JSON script that's actually written into the setup on the in the Zoom interface. So each room has a place for that script to go. And it tells it what the control name is, and it's whatever name you want to give it, but the control system also has to know what the name is. So they can both provide the same controls, the same thing that happens at the same time. And then the type of effect that it does. Is it toggle? Does it send a signal to turn something on, send a signal to turn something off? So basically, there are ways to do anything that I want to do on the touch panel, including raise and lower volume levels. You just have to, figure out how you want to make it control. So we're driving those custom controls from a room control system like a Crestron. Here's an example of what that would look like with the traditional method of doing that. So you can see I've got controls here for, I've got devices, student mics, and you can mute and unmute the student mics. Projectors, here's a room with 2 projectors. I can turn on the projectors independently, I can mute them independently, and so forth. Oh yeah. Yes, yes, with the caveat that, and I'll get into this a little bit later, that what you're seeing here, the fonts, the icons, the color scheme, the button types are all set by Zoom. This is what they make available, and I tell it to display what text to display, which icon to show, and in what position. And then if it's in a group, like you see the student mics are grouped under devices, there's kind of a box around it. I tell it to do that, and then to call that group devices. And then if there's more than fits on that screen, then you have to scroll it. Okay, so. With this way of doing it, it's only the ones that Zoom has available. But, so as I mentioned, there are a few ways to do this, and I think we've tried them all. So, like I mentioned earlier, QSYS, Crestron, and Extron are the ways to do this. We have tried QSYS and Crestron. We mostly do Crestron because of our huge install base. We have not tried Extron, but it's very similar. So those of you who are Extron houses, no reason you can't do this. So here is one of our standard touch panels, and this is the first method. Is this the second method? Sorry, I showed you the first method. All right, that was just using a control system to drive the code to Zoom to tell Zoom to display those buttons, and that's how that's happening. My control system is doing nothing other than telling Zoom to create the buttons, and then when somebody presses a button, it sends a signal back to the control system to make the operation happen in my programming. So yeah, method 2. Thank you for keeping me on track. It's the whole running out of bacon thing again. It's my timing today. So you can see at the top there's a nice friendly Zoom logo. So when the instructor walks into this room and they go, oh, I don't want to just show my laptop on the screen, I have a Zoom call to do. So they press that Zoom button, and this is a Crestron 7 series panel, which is Android based. What it does is it tells the control system to kill my program on the touch panel and launch the Zoom native app. And then when it does that, it'll kill this, and the Zoom interface that you're familiar with will pop up. The tricky part is to get out of it. And this was not user-friendly. We tried this and everyone hated it. Almost everyone hated it. Even we hated it. So to get out of it, you're in the Zoom interface. They're running on the Crestron panel. You see the little house-shaped symbol there on the side? That is part of the hardware buttons on the Crestron panel, hardware buttons. So if you look at this one on the wall here, it's got a row of buttons down the side. The second one is a little home button. Okay, that's a software thing in the newer panels. So you actually drag your finger down or touch the top of the side of the panel, and that appears. And there's a bunch of buttons there, none of which you want except the home button. You want the home button because it will kill the Zoom app, the running Zoom app, and it will restart the panel in user mode and bring up my interface. So I can tell that Crestron panel to make all the buttons disappear but the home button, which is what I did. I can move it to the right, and I can tell it to be there all the time, because if I don't, no one will figure out how to do it. It's got to be sitting there, but I can't label it. I can't change its color. I can't put a big arrow saying this is how you get out of the Zoom panel. None of that. That is not available in that mode of what Crestron provided. And the Crestron people are not in here, so I could say, wow. Anyway, I digress. So The third way. Yay, there's a third way. It's new, and it works, and it's good. And this is what you want. Okay, so as Dr. Ford mentioned, you can add apps to your Zoom instance. And you can see here we have Crestron and QSys added because we were messing with both of those. You could also find the extra one and add that. And so for each room, you just enable it. Create a profile. You still create that JSON script that goes in there, but there is a Crestron template for this. You build a program and it will generate the JSON for you. Yay. And it works. And then once you look at it, you go, oh, okay, that's how it works. And if you need to go and edit it, you can. Then you load that configuration file, you build your program, you build a touch panel to their template, whatever you want. It could look like your touch panel, it's just smaller. It's going to be smaller and not the full aspect ratio of the panel. And then it works. And then you launch it, you hit that rooms control button. It's still the same button to launch it, but then here are my terrible phone picture of my touch panel because there's no way for me to get a screen capture of this. But there you go. There's my panel running in a window inside the Zoom controls. So this is the way it's going to be. This is the way. For all of our new rooms, this is the way. Until something better comes along. And I will say, if something better comes along, we're going to be all over it.
Whatever happened to Crestron UC?
We actually messed with that too, but they did not continue to support that. They had like a 1.0 version, and it was clunky and difficult. And so, yeah, we thought this was probably a better and easier choice than and especially than trying, which we could do. We could go and build our entire interface with our controls to control Zoom. But why do we want to do that? I mean, every time they add a feature, we got to go in and reprogram all the rooms. So we want to approach this from the other way. We want to add the controls we need to their interface. And then it also it helps the situation where we want a common user interface across our whole operation. I will point out, and I can harp on Crestron just a little bit here, the template that they give us has specs for that window size in the template, and they're wrong. I had to actually pixel measure it, and adjust it. It wasn't, and I don't know why. It just wasn't quite right. And you can see here, that's a scroll bar. That's because my window is like 3 pixels too big. so there you go. But so there's our room PA microphone level controls with a mute. There's a slider because sliders are supported, and there's a student mic mute button because in a lot of our classrooms we have ceiling mics, which are not Zoom. You can't register with Zoom. Zoom doesn't know what they are. So we have to put our own controls in there to mute them and unmute them. So yeah, this is typical of our standard panel where we have across the top, we have categories of things. We have video settings, PA settings, a settings gear for other. So those appear across the top, and whatever controls are appropriate to that page would populate in the middle. And the navigation and everything works just like one of our regular panels. And I didn't mention actually on that last option where you change the mode of the touch panel, you have it launch the Zoom app and then kill the Zoom app. We experimented with trying to do that, trying to automate that, which you can do because the API for Zoom will tell the control system, if you wanted to, it'll tell it when a call comes in, when a call is answered. It will also tell it when the call hangs up. But it was not 100% reliable, we found, and we don't know why for sure. But the one thing we did notice is that if someone walked into the room and the panel was in the wrong mode, like it was already in a call, or for some reason was still in a call, they didn't want it to be, they didn't know what to do. There was mass confusion all the time in a phone call. So No automation. Manual buttons, we decided were better.
Jim, have you pushed this out to faculty, and what kind of response are you seeing or anything? Can you just honestly?
Do you?
So not all faculty are with Connect classrooms. So when they're teaching in a room, they're not really familiar with the Connect mode. They're don't get out of it. Reason for it, but that's well one for them. Fine. And actually need that by hitting the button.
Just gonna ask, how, since you have so many faculty in remote locations, how are they contacting you when they have these sorts of issues?
Most of our sites have we call them facilitators. Most of our sites have facilitators for the meeting. Either they're in room with the faculty. Generally, if it's originating, we have a facilitator in the room. And so that facilitator is actually running the meeting for the instructor. They have the host controls. They can go in, they can look at chat, they can start the breakout rooms, they can do the polls, they can do all that auxiliary stuff that the instructor really doesn't want to do, but we can facilitate that for them. They can also look at the remote sites and say, we need to mute, you need to be muted. We can mute them, we can unmute them, we can ask to have them turn the cameras on, all that. Similar. Yeah, help. We do have a help. We run, it's called Abs Group. We run Slack. We have a whole Slack channel for communication, and we typically run through there. And then if that doesn't work, then they go to the help and very well.
And the Slack instance is statewide, so all the campuses have their own tab basically in Slack, and we have got a couple people on that Fabs team that are there anytime classes are going on. They're there to assist other tech people at the other sites. Let's see. I didn't mention I should mention those are HTML5 panels, and they're Android based. So that's the system that works. If you have QSYS, QSYS panels are not Android. They don't work. You toss the QSYS in a drawer, QSYS panel in a drawer, and you get a Logitech Tap.
Or whatever.
Or anything that is, and you can run, and you could also we didn't show the one. Oh, we did. You launched the panel. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So from the interface also, the Zoom cloud interface, we can watch the remote panel. If the code is there and it has the connection set up properly, you can see these custom controls appear on your cloud interface. The Crestron panels, these new ones really want a signed certificate. This is going to be a full-time job for somebody. Right now we used unsigned certificates. As soon as IT figures out that we're really doing that, they're going to come and get us. They're going to come and find us, and they're going to get us. So.
I'm not sure your tech. Can you explain what that is and why IT is going to snuff that?
It's a security feature. Do you want to?
SSL. It's just to protect. It gives you a secure socket to be able to communicate. Yep,
Chuck, you said you're gonna go to
yep.
Yeah. You know, we have how many hundreds of panels, and somebody's gonna sit there and renew all the certificates, or come up with a way to manage. Do that, Crestron.
Be our challenge.
Why are we doing this? Why are we doing Zoom rooms? And we're talking about, and if I didn't make it clear, every room we have across the state is going to become a Zoom room. Every room. No more face-to-face rooms, no more connect rooms. They're all connected rooms. And you know, then you add in all the students that don't want to come to campus or come to the remote classroom. They can sit at home or sit in Starbucks and take their class. They're going to do it. So we want to support that flexibility. We want to support those custom controls, which it's convoluted now. If you want to launch a Zoom event from a standard classroom, you have to know what you're doing. And we rather that part be automated and scheduled. We have a huge install base of Crestron. I mean, very big install base. I had to put in the picture of the Crestron boxes. This is just for one building. It's for life science, probably, because that's the building we're looking at. Yeah, yep. So, yeah, DA classrooms. Yeah. So, yeah, truckloads, pallet loads of Crestron that we don't want to have to dig out and throw away. So, we can keep our friendly UI for room controls, and it looks like what people are familiar with. They have the controls for all the funky stuff in the room that Zoom is not going to control and won't want to control. So that's...
Yeah, and another thing that we have, when we were on Cisco, and for the Connect classes, legislature kind of mandated. We actually, when we were in Cisco, we need a Zoom. We need to do a Connect class out of this room because it better utilizes the room. We can add a camera and phones to a room and do it within a couple of weeks and have, as far as registration goes, and do that. We can it's on that. Make things cheap and a lot easier.
Yeah, and no remote Cisco site, Cisco room with 2 students sitting in it, $40,000 Cisco room with 2 students in it. They don't like to see stuff like that, and it's not efficient. So,
I don't understand how switching to Zoom room resolves that issue.
well, because the back end of the Zoom room is a simple hardware package and a PC.
And scheduling.
You still have students
It's flexible.
sitting in there, right? That's not the problem you're solving, it's just the expense of it.
Yeah, basically, and a hardware-based Cisco room, you've got to have that room sitting there in order to make even one seat available at a site. You got to have a $20,000 codec sitting in it. We've experimented with the desktop units. A single student with a pair of headphones, and those are also very expensive for what they are, and wasn't efficient because a lot of sites don't have a room and they can set up 10 of those stations. So. The features, the one feature we didn't mention, Zoom recordings. So we're looking forward to using Zoom recordings and porting those recordings into our LMS. So lots of opportunity there, and we don't have to worry about all the convoluted ways we had to do it with Cisco. We had network recorders, and we had to transfer them out of Cisco network recorders into Kaltura, then spit them out of Kaltura, send them into the LMS. No more of that. We don't have to worry about that. because of the Cisco or the Zoom schedule is connected to the class and to its instance in the LMS. So it's all tied together and all makes sense. So, yeah. That's it. Yes.
So, out of curiosity, I mean, we're a Zoom campus too. We don't have Zoom rooms, but how do you handle folks who say, well, I like Teams, or I like Google Meet? Do you give them a card to the nearest like shrink, or do you say, or do you
Well,
say this is what we're locked into, this is what we use? Is that enforced?
I mean, there are people that use Teams on campus, and I will say that because of the deal we have with Microsoft, we have free Teams, okay? But the features of Zoom and the fact that we have a contract and they decided this is what the state is going to use, and it really came from the legislature. It didn't come from us. Legislature said, we're paying for this stuff. You guys are going to all use the same thing. So that's what it is. If they want to use something else, it's not supported. I mean, they could bring in their laptop and dial up something without a problem.
Zoom does offer Teams and Google Meet on the rooms. It's not as robust as just doing the Teams, but they have the option to use those.
There's a WebRTC client.
Yep.
It is automatically on their server, and you turn it on, and you'll see a Google Meet button and a Teams button. You schedule either of those two meetings, it will cross launch the WebRTC client on the room, and throw you into that.
Yep.
But to the point,
Yeah,
WebRTC client.
Zoom has figured out how to take care of those people, it sounds like. So, yeah, for sure. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm interested in this because our campus is similarly, we've switched some, and I happen to work with some of the earlier Zoomers, and I think I chatted with you earlier, but just so you know, we're currently 2 touch panels on podium. So kind of like this idea we were talking about. My question is, so when an instructor walks in a room to lead a class, are they seeing the Crestron interface on that panel, or are they seeing, what switches, are they manually switching into the Zoom controls, or is that automated?
Well, with the Zoom room, they're going to see the Zoom native panel. And if they need to do something at the room level, they just have to hit that room controls button. So there is a certain amount of training.
Can you go back to your Zoom control slide? Because
Yeah.
it's like I see different buttons on mine. and I see-
Yeah. So this is on the web interface. Whoops. Yeah, toggle that to the.
So right here,
Yeah.
this is what they see when they walk into the room.
So bearing in mind that this is the web interface, the operator's interface, they don't see this. This is the Zoom panel from here over. So everybody sees that, and they're hopefully becoming familiar with it. And then to have any local controls, they are always going to be under that. Even though we have a custom pop-up with our own graphics in it, that's the access for it.
So, like on our, we have Logitech tablet.
Yep.
Some of the features of the Zoom room are the ability to display the chat in the room, and you can react and do emoticons, and captioning. I didn't see that on your.
They're all to start a meeting.
Yeah. If we're in the meeting,
So I'm launching a meeting in that room right now.
yeah.
So that's how it.
And then still ignore it from here over, because that's not there on your room panel. But up at the top, you can see the room controls button. So it populates up there instead while you're in a call. We know we can do this because finals just ended. And if there's somebody in this room, they're mad, but they shouldn't be in there.
So literally what you just did, that pop-up is the Crestron control superimposed over your Zoom.
Yeah, it just appears in a window over that. And then you do have to go back, hit the home button to get out of it. But that hopefully is a lot more intuitive than those other ways I showed you to do. We've not tried the AI companion yet.
So I do that in conference rooms, and it works great. Yeah.
So another like kind of workflow thing is, I think you guys said that the owner of the meeting that lives on the faculty member's account, is that created by your script, or do they create their own meeting?
It's all created through that script. Yep.
You said you had facilitators that have the host controls or co-host controls. Are they literally in the room running off this, or are they joining through their own Zoom?
So they typically have another machine. So we have a facilitator computer in the room available to them. They either use their laptop or that, but they can join the meeting there and run everything through. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we also give them this touch panel at that desk, so that we have 2 taps in the room, one for the instructor and one for the facilitator. So they can do all the chat, all that stuff through their laptop, mic, mute and all that, and then control the room. Yeah.
Maybe a silly one, but is there a way to make the room controls button larger?
So that is a Zoom. Yeah.
We have one in one of our rooms, and I've never really liked how small it is.
Yeah.
It's extraordinarily small. And
Yeah.
if you're not used to seeing, with smart name tags for voice and video, all those icons are up there too. Obviously the security of the call is there.
Yeah.
The voice commands, that's what the third one is up there. So before too long, you end up with like 6 icons across the top. Getting your finger over that one is a pain in the rump.
Yeah. And that.
I totally agree, and the design team is on it.
Yeah. That's for users. That's not very intuitive.
But we're working within a standard, and this is
That's right.
like a worldwide standard, right? That
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
if it changes for us, it changes for everybody in the freaking world, so
Correct.
it's gotta support everybody.
Give you your mic.
Yes. One last one for you. What happens as far as the scheduling process for when folks are in rooms? What happens if, like, all of a sudden the instructor says, "I don't like this room, I want to move"? Does that script adjust for that? Do you have to do any manual intervention for that, or how?
They're told, too bad, so sad. No, they can just add.
Can I borrow that?
Yeah, they just add the new room to the schedule.
Yep. So we just go in and just type in the new Zoom room name, and it's automatically moved, just like that.
And they have done it on the fly. If they walk into a room and something's broken, which doesn't happen very often, it's usually the user that's broken. But yeah, PEBCAC. But if there's something wrong, then they can like walk down the hall to the next room, and the facilitator will log on and change it. So.
So you mentioned something else too, when you guys did about, all the students are gonna stay home and join, that's just the way it's gonna be, but how did are you guys, I mean, that's not your problem, I guess, are the instructors down with that? Is that been a top-down thing? Or
Well,
is like our institution, there's still debate over, even though you can, should we?
Well, since the early days of our Cisco system, everyone has always wanted students to be able to join from anywhere they want. And when we had the Cisco system, we could say, no, absolutely not. There is no way that will ever happen because the call quality, the quality of the conference will degrade, and your class will suck, and everyone will hate it, and we'll get the blame. So it was never a technology problem with us necessarily. It was a policy thing. And now they've just decided, hey, with Zoom, there's no reason we can't let them do that.
Yeah, there's some instances where students were traveling an hour a day just to get to campus, just to get to campus, take a class. And why would we make them do that if they have network at home?
There's arguments.
Yeah. So
Especially all our remote campuses where people are hours away from the center with 1 or 2 classrooms in it.
yeah.
So when we used to, doing the Cisco system, I used to work on the help desk for a while with that system. And we would actually monitor those remote sites for issues. And you know that the student camera in the front of the room is, even though it's a pan tilt zoom, it is going to show a wide shot of the whole room with one student on the back row. So you see all kinds of things happen. One of my favorites was the pizza party, where they decided Tuesday night was going to be the night they brought in pizza, and they'd be eating pizza with boxes out across the tables and, watching a lecture, chowing down on pizza. So yeah, big empty room, not necessarily necessary to make the students travel there now that we have technology that should comfortably and easily support that, and cheaply.
Just for a hot minute, and I know I'm making this too long, I'm sorry. I think part of this question is a pedagogical discussion, from an instructional perspective. sit and get, or are they there to participate? And I think many times people have used Zoom as a broadcast mechanism, and it works. Don't get me wrong, it works. But the forte behind a live video call is that we can have a conversation, not a presentation, right? And so I think there's a lot of pedagogical evolution that's got to happen to get to where these guys are with an okay for students to be individually situated.
And that's definitely, it's something we've seen for a long time, and something that's obvious is the students that are, and the faculty that's getting people engaged. Where was I going with that? There's a
You guys are hitting
the-
the point, which is like,
Yeah.
very much so, if the faculty designed the class to be an in-person class,
Yeah.
just because we can have people join remotely, doesn't make it a good class.
So-
I was curious about, are they still allowed to do that? Can that-
Yeah, hopefully they're,
Classes that were designed to be that in the first place.
yeah, hopefully there's some work on the pedagogy side. One more thing, before we did the Cisco system, and this is where I was going with that. It's the lack of bacon. It's shutting me down. We had a 10-channel digital satellite system for 10 years prior to the Cisco system. We were the one of only 3 schools in the country that maintained their own MPEG-2 DVB compliant, for those of you who are geek out on that kind of stuff, digital satellite system, and it was a broadcast system. Totally broadcast, audio return channel, only audio return. So that's where the habits, a lot of bad habits were formed during that period.
Yeah, so connect classes. So we have 6 different styles of teaching pedagogy. And so when faculty are saying this is an in-person class, it is an in-person class. There is no Zoom component to that. And so we do in-person, we do connect, we do hybrid, we do virtual, arranged, and online. So those are the different pedagogies that we have across. So they do know.
Yeah, and I think the faculty are getting better about realizing what the systems can do and how they can use them. I think that's getting better. For this mic, hey, it's got covering the antenna. It's got a mute. Okay. Any other questions? Call the help desk. That's a good. I would not seen that. Awesome.